Howdy everybody, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution. This video will be approximately 2 minutes, real quick one. One of the big changes that's going to set us up for getting into things like World War I and World War II is the ways that machinery and technology changed populations. That people lived mostly farming for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. But then in the 1700s, there started to be changes starting in Europe and then spreading all over the world. The first thing you'd want to add to your notes is cottage industry. A cottage industry was when, the very beginning of it, people would start manufacturing things in their homes. So if you were a peasant, you lived on your farm, you would at night, or maybe have your wife while you're out doing your work in the fields, manufacture goods. She might be sewing or creating some sort of a product that would then be sold. Everybody in a village might work on the same type of thing and then band it together and then go sell it at the local town, and that way you would bring in some extra money for the village for hard times. All of this was before factories were developed. Then people started realizing that having everybody do it in different factories wasn't as useful, that you needed to bring people together so they could all work together. So that's when you started getting entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people who organized and operated businesses. They brought everybody in. They took on risk because they had to pay for machinery and have a lease and make sure they had goods to sell. But the goal was to make a profit. So that started meaning that they needed workers to live close together. So you started seeing people move to towns and towns, building up factories. Then someone invented the assembly line. Basically, you guys know what an assembly line, that would be if we were drawing a picture of a person, and I had one person of you, maybe Jackson or Sammy, draw the head, and then we had someone like Loey or Loam drawing the body, and then somebody else is drawing the shoes, that if we had each of you focusing on just one body part of making that drawing, you would do a better job and you'd be able to make way more than anybody else would be able to. So part of the problem with that is then that workers become replaceable. If Sammy decides that he wants more wages, I can fire him and bring in Tunkel to do a similar job, especially as machines get involved. The final thing to pay attention to is a patent. Patents basically mean that if you invent something, then you have the exclusive rights to use your creation. So if Yakov or Frank were to invent something, they would then be able to say anybody else who uses it is going to have to pay me. So what that does is that makes sure that people want to build things, want to invent things because they'll make money. If Frank invented something and Usher could just come in and take it away and make money off of it, then why is Frank going to make any sort of invention? He's not going to profit off it. But if Frank knows he's going to profit off it, he will do so. This big thing that this happened is that people started explosively living in cities. So these are 4 cities in England, and you can see how over 100 years the populations of those went up 5, 6, 7 times as people moved into cities. Part of this also was that people's life expectancy went up. So you can see that for almost all the way up to the 1800s, people had very little chance of living past 30 or 40. They didn't make that much money, but as they moved to cities, all of a sudden they had access to health care, they had better access to food. If there was a shortage, it could be brought in from other places. So people started living longer, they started making more money, they started having spending money that they could spend on things that they might need, which made life better for people. A few other things. If you look over here, this is the United States. This is the spread of slavery over 70 years. Slavery in America has expanded in a lot of ways because England and the United States were both developing these factories, and they needed tons and tons of cotton. So you saw an explosion of cotton across the southern United States, and that led to a lot of issues for the United States, but also tons of cotton, tons of money for England and the United States. The final thing to look at is that some people didn't like this. When the machines started replacing people, we had what are called Luddites. There are these gangs of workers who would break into factories and smash up all the machines, and then inevitably the police would come and beat the heck out of them. All right, that's the Industrial Revolution. Enjoy.